plays, running play. Breeze. Cook in the air and looks like it's picked. It is Rams football.
12. Mayfield wants all of it. What an effort by OBJ. One-handed. Welcome back.
It's just one-on-one coverage out there. Wow. Just tremendous.
Salters with you here at MetLife Stadium. No chance at all right there for Trevor Siemian. Mayfield, plenty of time, downfield, open, and able to get it complete.
Kamara tries to pick his way. Didn't look like he got it. Types of games between these opponents, you know, there are 3 or 4 plays in the game that determine who wins, and that was one of them that the Saints were on the wrong end of. Biggest play of the game for Todd Gurley.
Welcome to week 3 of NFL football. We're going to be talking about the Rams versus the Cleveland Browns and how they match up. And I do think the Rams will win this game, and I'll tell you guys why. Reason number one is the Cleveland Browns offensive line. It's average at best. We went against the Saints offensive line, which is one of the most highly rated teams, especially against the tackles. The tackles got destroyed by our pass rushers and Aaron Donald, where they were just committing holding call after holding call, and we're allowing a sack. And that's something the Cleveland Browns cannot afford. They just cannot afford to play poorly, especially at the offensive line position. If they do, it's not going to be very pretty for them, mainly because they do have a good guard, they have a decent center, but the tackles are bad, and the other guard is not as good. So they will be exposed, especially Baker Mayfield. So if they cannot protect Baker Mayfield, then it's not going to be very good for the Cleveland Browns. Another thing, the Rams also have to protect Jared Goff. The Rams actually have a decent offensive line. They're getting a little older, especially Andrew Whitworth, but we also got younger when it comes to Joseph Noboom, Brian Allen. Austin Blythe might return, but for right now it's Jamil Demby. So all those guys are younger than 26 years old that I just named, other than Andrew Whitworth. And then Rob Havlicek, I think, is about 27, maybe 28. So he's in the prime of his career. And they will be tested because the young Cleveland Browns defensive line and even their linebackers are really good at getting after the quarterback. They are very good at making their life miserable because they just have so much speed and power off the edge with Myles Garrett, who is, to me, the biggest threat of this whole game is Myles Garrett. If he can be disruptive, if he can get a forced fumble or, you know, just sacks or making it difficult for the Rams to have a passing game, then the Cleveland Browns actually have a decent chance of beating the Rams, especially if they run the ball efficiently. That's one thing the Rams have also been working on, is stopping the run. They did a good job against the Saints. They didn't allow Kamara to have more than, I think, 80 yards in total offense. So that's passing plus rushing the ball. So they have an ability to stop the run for right now. But we know that teams that are very power-based, basically like the Cleveland Browns offensive scheme, they're going to be a little bit difficult to stop, especially the stopping the run. So the Rams are very good on paper against the Browns. Like, everything that's a weakness for the Browns, the Rams have. If the Rams can get after Baker Mayfield and their bad offensive line, then that secondary is already good. It's going to get even better if they can get pressure on Baker. If they can make him force throws down the field, I would not be surprised if guys like Aqib Talib or John Johnson were to get like 2 interceptions, possibly a couple of sacks in that game, and it might not be pretty for the Cleveland Browns. So that's just one thing to think about. The Cleveland Browns, as long as they can keep pressure on Goff, they can run the football, and they can be very selective on when to throw the ball, that's their best chance to win against the Rams. Like, control the time of possession will be the best way to beat the Rams. For the Rams is expose that offensive line. It's average at best. They got rid of one of their good guards. I think he ended up going to a different team. I forgot what team he went to. I'm not sure if it was New York or New England, but I know that one of their really good guards is no longer there. It was probably traded. I think he went to New York, but he was a good guard. They no longer have him. So the Rams are able to get after the quarterback, and if they can do that, they can win this game. So what do I think the final score will be? This is a tough one because you gotta include the kicker. I think the Rams win 34-20. I'm not really scared about the Browns. I think the Rams will just do good enough in the first half to minimize mistakes, learn on what they can do and can't do, and then in the second half exploit those weaknesses for the Browns, and vice versa. If the Browns, trust me, they're looking at the tape when it comes to the Patriots tape and see what they can do. But the only solution to any football game is getting after the quarterback. It's nothing special. How can you get after the quarterback? Run, blitz, or do some kind of trick zone scheme where you think it's a blitz, but it's more like a zone. It's ways to get at the quarterback. They're going to try to emulate that. And the good thing about that is if teams continue to do what the Patriots do, then that makes it easier on Sean McVay down the line if we end up playing the Patriots again, because he's had so much practice throughout the season against that. So that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think. Tell me about the Browns. Are they a good team? Because the first week, they let me down. I thought they were going to whoop on the Titans, and the Titans whooped on them. All this hype about the Browns being this and this and that when they were playing like trash. Then they play the trash Jets, who don't have a quarterback. They have players that are injured all over the field, and they whoop on them. That doesn't show me nothing. Show me in this game that you're for real, Browns. If you can beat the Rams in week 3, I don't care how you do it, whether it's, outscoring the Rams or just controlling the clock, creating, turnovers, and then winning, like, let's say 13-10. That would impress me. But beating bad teams really isn't going to show me much. The Rams already beat the Panthers, a healthy Panthers team. They're playing really poor against the run, but they were being beaten in that sense, and they started, turning over the ball, and that's why the Panthers got so close. And then you play the Saints, but the Rams actually played really sound defensive football, getting after Drew Brees, getting after Bridgewater, and creating turnovers, and that's why the score was 27-9. Now you go against a pretty healthy Browns team. They have Baker Mayfield, who is a really good leader, really good quarterback, and is kind of like that guy that will get in the fight with you, rather than, like, Jared Goff isn't going to get in the fight. Baker Mayfield will probably get in the fight. So guys probably respect that. And then they have great receivers. I know their tight end went down with an injury, which is going to help the Rams, especially the linebackers. But that's no problem. Even if they would have had the tight end there, the Rams secondary is that good. We have Taylor Rapp, who's a hybrid rookie. He's a hybrid rookie linebacker and safety that plays really good on third down. He plays like John Johnson-esque style of football. He's just really good at stopping the run, and he's really good at deflecting passes down the field. And it's hard to score on this Rams team. The Rams are a good team. The Rams are a very, very talented, well-coached team. I actually feel very excited this year about how the Rams are going to do, because overall, the Rams team, this might be one of the best teams in NFL in Rams history. That's all I'm saying. So the Browns, they have a lot of work to do. If they can minimize mistakes, run the ball, throw down when they need to, control the time of possession, don't allow the Rams to score, then they can win this game. But if they decide to go toe-to-toe with the Rams, throwing haymakers with the best of them, one of the best offenses in the NFL, having a terrible offensive line is not going to help. And I hopefully for the Rams, the Browns actually get ballsy and they try to outscore the Rams, throwing down the field and pretending their offensive line isn't trash, because that's how Aaron Donald ends up getting 3 sacks in one game, tackles for loss, Dante Fowler, Clay Matthews out the edge, and then you have 2 run-stopping players when it comes to Sebastian Joseph-Day and Michael Brockers. Well, this could actually turn into a slugfest where the Rams end up coming out on top. Kind of like that Chiefs-Rams game from last year. I can see that happening in this game, but with more sacks for the Browns against them. That's how I look at this. So the Rams 34 to the Browns 20. Rams win. They stay 3-0. Let me know what you guys think. Until next time, you guys, go Rams.
One-on-one.
Goff throws, pass caught, Cup. Room to run, still going. Cooper Kupp. What a touchdown for